The Formula 1 season in 2023 has been and gone, and there's not much you can say apart from winning 19 out of a possible 23 races, breaking the record for most consecutive wins, scoring the most points in a single season, as well as breaking countless more records, Verstappen's season can only be described as one of a kind. But how would he fare going into 2024? Nearing the end of the season, McLaren had come on leaps and bounds and was challenging Max for race wins, with Piastri even winning the sprint race in Qatar. Combine this with a battle between Mercedes and Ferrari for second, as well as the battles lower down the grid with Williams, the new AlphaTauri team, and the newly named, formerly known as Alfa Romeo. So with some new liveries and some new teams, I headed into F1 23 to simulate the next season in the pinnacle of motorsport. To start this new season, we will be racing at the Bahrain International Circuit, where the Ferrari driver of Charles Leclerc will be taking pole position. But unfortunately, he isn't able to hold it and will only finish third behind both Red Bulls, with Sergio Perez taking the first win of the 2024 season. Also finishing in the top 10 were Sainz in 4th, Norris in 5th, with Hamilton all the way down in 10th place. Moving on to the second race in Saudi Arabia, and we have a different pole sitter in the form of Max Verstappen. And unlike Charles Leclerc, he is actually able to convert pole into a race win, with his teammate of Perez finishing second, with Carlos Sainz rounding off the podium. The majority of the top 10 is at a 2x2, with 2 Red Bulls, 2 Ferraris, 2 McLarens and 2 Mercedes. The next race in Australia will bring another pole sitter, with Lando Norris taking a second pole after the heartbreak of Russia. But just like Charles Leclerc, he cannot convert, and Max Verstappen will take his second win of this season. Norris couldn't even make it to the podium, but his teammate Oscar Piastri will stand on the third step for his home race. For the fourth race in a row, we have a different pole sitter, as Carlos Sainz takes pole position for the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. Now he can only finish as high as third place, however, with his teammate finishing just ahead in second, with the winner being none other than Max Verstappen. Now we also took victory in the first sprint race of the year, cementing a huge championship lead very early on in the season. Head into Miami and we finally have a repeat pole sitter, with Max Verstappen being the fastest driver on Saturday. But he doesn't manage to convert it into his fourth consecutive win, as the smooth operator takes advantage of a Red Bull double DNF, with Lando Norris and Sainz teammate of Charles Leclerc sharing the podium. Both Alpines within the top 7 will help boost them in the Constructors' Championship, which we will look at near the end. Next stop is Imola, where we actually have another different pole sitter, making Sergio Perez the 5th driver in 6 races to take pole. However, unlike Miami, both Red Bulls do finish the race, but only in 4th and 5th, with Ferrari poster boy Charles Leclerc taking the win in Ferrari's back garden. Carlos Sainz finishes P2 to make it an extremely successful race for the Italian outfit, with Lando Norris once again joining them on the podium. After securing 2 podiums in a row, the McLaren driver of Lando Norris is set to take pole position through the streets of Monaco, and he manages to keep the entire grid behind him for 78 laps of the Monaco Grand Prix to win his first ever Formula 1 race. Not only was it a great race for Lando, but it was an incredible race for McLaren, as they managed to secure a 1-2 finish ahead of Charles Leclerc and both Red Bulls. Back-to-back pole positions for Lando Norris, as he will lead the start of the Spanish Grand Prix at Catalonia. But despite the poles, he isn't able to convert it into back-to-back wins, as Max Verstappen returns to the top step of the podium ahead of his teammate in Sergio Perez. Charles Leclerc then rounds off the podium, and there's a surprise P9 finish for the Haas driver of Kevin Magnussen. Canada returns to previously scheduled programming, as Charles Leclerc is the fastest man on Saturday, but obviously cannot hold onto the lead, with Max Verstappen winning his 5th race of the season. He is joined on the podium by both Ferraris, with pole sitter Charles Leclerc finishing behind his teammate in 3rd place. Sergio Perez just misses out on the podium and was closely followed by both McLarens and both Mercedes. Another sprint weekend in Austria and another sprint race win for Max Verstappen. He also takes pole position for the Grand Prix. There's a 1-2 for Red Bull at the Red Bull Ring, in fact, as Sergio Perez manages to secure 2nd place, just ahead of Carlos Sainz, Lando Norris and Charles Leclerc. Valtteri Bottas manages to creep into the top 10 and score his first points of the 2024 season. We now head to sunny Silverstone for the British Grand Prix, and pole is taken by none other than Max Verstappen. However, the British drivers did have a pretty decent weekend, with Lando Norris taking it to Max Verstappen and actually managing to secure a win in his home race. Verstappen finishes just behind, with the other McLaren of Piastri finishing in 3rd. Both George Russell and Lewis Hamilton finishing in the top 7, with Alex Albon managing to sneak into the top 10 in his Williams. To the Hungarian Grand Prix at the Hungaroring, and we actually have a brand new pole sitter with the McLaren of Oscar Piastri. He unfortunately couldn't convert his first pole into his first Grand Prix win, however he does remain in 2nd place behind Max Verstappen. Charles Leclerc finishes in 3rd place, rounding off the podium, with Lando Norris dropping all the way down to 6th after his incredible home race win. We then move on to the Belgian Grand Prix, and we have another sprint weekend. Lando Norris bounces back after Hungary and manages to win the sprint race for a bonus 8 points. Max Verstappen will take pole position for the race but will ultimately finish second just behind Lando Norris, who will take his second win of the year. The newest pole sitter of Oscar Piastri takes the final step on the podium, with Alex Albon once again finishing in a point scoring position, which will heavily boost the Williams team. The following race is the Netherlands Grand Prix at Zandvoort, and Lando Norris will take pole position and deny Max Verstappen in his home race. He is not able to make it up in the race as he actually DNFs the race, with Charles Leclerc taking the win in the Grand Prix. His teammate Carlos Sainz joins him alongside Oscar Piastri on the podium. Both Mercedes finishing in the top 7, with both Alfa Romeos finishing in the top 10. Once again we head back to Italy, but this time we head to the historical Monza. And after missing out on a podium in the last 4 races, Sergio Perez takes pole position. He cannot convert it into a race win though, but does manage to return to the podium in 3rd place. Max Verstappen will then take the checkered flag first, ahead of Carlos Sainz in Ferrari's home, with Charles Leclerc finishing 4th and Oscar Piastri finishing in 5th. After finishing 2nd in the past 2 races, Carlos Sainz is able to take pole position for the Singapore Grand Prix, the race he won last year. But unfortunately he will take 2nd place for the 3rd time in a row, with the McLaren of Oscar Piastri taking his first ever Formula 1 Grand Prix win. Charles Leclerc rounds off the podium, with Lando Norris finishing 4th after securing the fastest lap. We then head to Suzuka next, with Charles Leclerc taking his 3rd pole position of the season. But just like his previous 2 poles, he cannot convert them into race wins, with Lando Norris adding another win to his tally. Charles Leclerc finishes 2nd after his pole start, but just ahead of Max Verstappen. Carlos Sainz finishes in 4th, with Piastri in 5th. And once again, Alex Albon finishes inside the top 10 with a 10th place finish. The season then returns to Qatar for another sprint weekend. This time it's won by Lando Norris. Max Verstappen will take pole position and eventually go on to win the race, and he stands on the top of the podium joined by the Ferrari driver of Charles Leclerc and Verstappen's teammate of Sergio Perez. The sprint race winner of Lando Norris can only finish 4th, with his teammate finishing all the way down in P6. We then head back to the USA for the 2nd but not the last time, as F1 heads to the Circuit of the Americas in the middle of Texas. Max Verstappen takes the sprint win, but Carlos Sainz manages to take pole position and wins in the Grand Prix. Max Verstappen does make it on the podium, however it will be the bottom step. Norris and Piastri just miss out on the podium, with Kevin Magnussen entering the points in the Haas team's home race. We then head 2,200 metres above sea level for the Mexican Grand Prix, which is led off the start by Charles Leclerc, but once again he isn't able to hold on to that during the race, as Lando Norris secures another win this season. The hometown hero Sergio Perez manages to get himself on the podium, whereas his teammate of Verstappen can only place as high as 6th. Yuki Tsunoda also finds himself in the points for the first time since Imola. Many say that the Brazilian Grand Prix should be the season finale, but the best they can get is a sprint race, which is won by Max Verstappen. Max Verstappen also goes and takes pole position for the Grand Prix, but Carlos Sainz will take the flag first. His teammate of Charles Leclerc joins him on the podium alongside Lando Norris. But despite not making the podium, all attention will be on Max Verstappen, as his 4th place finish is enough to win him the Drivers' Championship with 2 races remaining. His 4th title in a row equals Fangio, Vettel and Hamilton for the most consecutive championships, and ties him with Alain Prost and Sebastian Vettel for 4 championship wins. Despite the ups and downs of last year's Vegas Grand Prix, F1 heads back with Carlos Sainz taking pole position. But he will only end up 3rd in Sin City, while Sergio Perez takes his spot at the top of the podium, with Lando Norris being sandwiched in between. Drivers' champion Max Verstappen is still fighting, but only finishes 4th once again. We have finally reached the final race of the season, which will take place in Abu Dhabi on the Yas Marina circuit. The previous pole sitter of Carlos Sainz will once again take pole position for this final race, but will only be able to finish as high as 5th. The reigning, now 4-time champion of Max Verstappen takes the final race win of the season alongside the fastest lap, just to rub even more salt into the wounds. Now we move on to the final standings, and first let's have a look at the Constructors' Championship. With Max Verstappen's incredible season, there is no way Red Bull were going to lose the Constructors' Championship, but it was still quite close. Ferrari finishes 26 points behind Red Bull while leading McLaren by 80. Mercedes beat out Aston Martin and Alpine, while Alfa Romeo, Williams, Haas and AlphaTauri all finished with single digit of points. Looking at the Drivers' Championship, and we do have Max Verstappen on top. Out of a 23 race season, Verstappen managed to win 10, which is nowhere near his 2023 record, but is still incredible nonetheless. Charles Leclerc then comes in 2nd place, only 6 points ahead of Lando Norris, despite only winning twice in the entire season. Norris had his best season on record, securing his first ever Formula 1 race win along with 4 more. The smooth operator comes in 4th after winning 3 times, with Sergio Perez winning twice. The other McLaren of Oscar Piastri also managed to secure his first ever Formula 1 race win to earn him P6 in the standings. He beats out both Mercedes, with Russell followed by Hamilton. Alonso is still searching for that 33rd win, while Pierre Gasly is just happy to be in the top 10. But that is going to wrap up today's video simulating the 2024 season. I hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe if you haven't already, as it does help me out a lot. You can also go and follow me on Instagram and Twitter, or X, whatever you call it, to keep up to date with new videos or just me in general. You can click on the screen to watch another one of my videos, such as an Audi simulation. I hope you all have a good day, good evening, good night, wherever you are, and goodbye.